Welcome to 3 Lanes number 11. This time we're talking about the analog photography and the downsides of shooting film. This time around, we started we started last week. This is not a new subject. I started talking about photography last week, and I technically want to kill the subject with this episode. Um, I know everybody wants to shoot film nowadays, or there's more people shooting film, which is cool. I mean, we talked about it last time. It increases demand on film, increases the suppliers in the market, which is cool, specifically for the people that have been shooting film for quite some time. It gives us some options. It gives, um, I don't know if cheaper options is the best way to put it, but it does give more options. A lot of times what I do is buy in bulk. So even if new vendors come into the market, sometimes that does not affect me completely. I have like 3 or 4 stocks that shoot all the time. Lately, I've been shooting less because I've been going back to school. I started my master's program for anybody that cares, but but that's been taking quite some time. Plus the kids, the regular 9 to 5, and then trying to write or record for the website. This is another one that I had written before, or this is an episode that is linked to a blog post that I had written before with the same title. So I'll just add the podcast to the top of the blog post, like I've been doing with all the blog posts. This kind of keeps me um in check of doing or having a post for every podcast episode that I do. But I mean, if you've been following this space, which is 3 lanes, for a while, I've been shooting film for quite some time. I'm definitely not an expert. I do not sell my prints. I mean, I would not be against it, but it's not my main job. I give them away to people if that's what they want. A lot of times, what I try to do is I print a photo that might be meaningful to somebody. I try to buy the bulk of frames, and then I give it as a gift, and that's it. Recently, one of uh, I'm gonna call a good friend from the local watch group. He gave me his photo book, great photo book, and it was a great gift. I love it. He writes little excerpts on every photo of what's the context or what's the story, and he makes the book even more special. I really like it. I think I might start doing that. Print a few books, give them away to people. Hopefully they enjoy them. But yeah, again, I'm no professional on shooting anything, right? Digital or film. I just publish in social media, but it's for my own entertainment. Again, this website is for my own entertainment. There's no ads. I'm not trying to. Well, there's a shop. I make stuff like this sweater, but I make it for myself. I'm the only one wearing it. If there's any other samples, I give them away to friends or to my mom or my wife. I made shirts for the kids. I have them there just in case um, I want to buy them again. But I do everything for my own entertainment. But reeling back to the main topic of this post is what could go wrong with analog photography, film photography. And I want to go full wrong on this one just for everybody to be aware of everything that's bad that's happened to me. And if you can learn through my mistakes, which a lot of times that does not happen, you have to make your own mistakes. But if you can have an idea of what can happen, I think you're one step ahead. So let me begin. And we can start by the cost of every shot on film. Buying film is not cheap. And if you make this a hobby, this is going to be an expensive hobby, and you're going to spend quite some money buying film, and that's okay. Because if you enjoy it, every hobby that you have, you might spend some money. Some more than others, but for the most part, you have to spend something. But yeah, in this case, shooting burst of photos, it does not work because spray and pray in this situation, it's gonna cost you even more. And a lot of cameras, they don't even have that feature, right? Like on on digital, you can shoot burst. On this one, on film, it's I haven't seen one that has it. But yeah, the film, you're not, unless you're sponsored, unless you're really good, then I don't know. Then you get the film for free, but otherwise you're gonna be paying for it. So price per roll, that's one con. The time it takes to develop the rolls, it's more time consumed. You know what they say, time is money, and a lot of times you rather be doing something else with your time rather than just developing film. I don't know, you might prefer to develop it on your own because you have quality control of the process, which I think at one point I might do, but right now I don't see the benefit of me developing film. So to me, it's a con. If you develop on your own, the chemicals, you need to buy chemicals, which might be a one-time thing for quite some time, but you still need to spend. That's a fixed cost that you need to take in. And chemicals might be cheaper than film rolls in the long run, but you still have to buy it. Uh, Another con that comes with the developing process is if you develop wrong. Like if you go wrong in one step of the development and you ruin the roll, there's no going back. I don't know if there's a way to fix it, but I mean, again, I don't develop, so I will be a newbie or that would be an unknown for me. But that's something that I don't think it's worth the price for me to be developing film. Again, like I said last episode, I did not take film classes or any type of photography classes in college or high school. So to me, this is well, when I started, it was a whole new world that I didn't really understand. Yeah, I knew that what the steps or things that needed to happen in order for you to have a photo, but I never looked really close to it. So I'm finding out things now that a lot of people that had the chance to be exposed to photography before were able to realize before, right? So the more you know. Next would be if you if you use a lab to develop it, right? You need to take into account the time that it takes you to either drive to drop off the film or how long it takes you to ship it. I use the darkroom lab, and they give you those little pouches after your first order. They give you one pouch. So next time you order something, you do your order online, then you print your receipt with your order. You put the the film with the paper in the envelope, plastic envelope, seal it, drop it at the mailbox. Done. That's what I do, but you have to take into account how many days it's gonna take you for the post office to take it to the dark room. And I know there's labs in the East Coast. There's even more down in LA where you could do these things. So the dark room is not just your only option, but it's one option. For me, it's the best one, and it's actually cheaper for me to ship it to the dark room than to take it to the local lab, unfortunately. So in that respect, I'd rather send it to the dark room. Uh, Even scanning, it's cheaper, so I spend way less shipping it to the dark room. Again, unfortunately, because it's a local business, the local lab. But cost wise, it's better for me. One of the things Another thing that you need to take into account, if you send it to somebody else, yes, you have to pay for scans. Or if you develop at home, how are you going to scan it? You need to have another setup. You need to have a scanner, or you need to have a camera setup. You know how they put the cameras on like a step, or there's others that have like an extension of the lens where you can take a picture of the negative, and then you have to send it to the computer and switch it from negative to a positive, and then you get your photo and all that stuff. But that's another step that's time consuming. If you send it to a lab, you have to take into account, or you have to know that there's a risk that it might get lost in the mail. This is something that happened to me fairly recently, maybe like 3 months ago. Man, that was bad. I was testing a Pentax MP, if I'm not mistaken, that a friend had given to me, and I tested one roll there, and I had two other rolls that I was sending. Well, uh, those are lost. I gave them to the mailman, and I did not get a confirmation from the post office within like 24 to 48 hours. So I went to check. I asked the mail guy, and he was like, I don't know. I gave it to, I put it in the cart, and I don't know. I don't know what happened. So I went to the post office. They couldn't find it. They couldn't find the tracking number. I put out an order to look for the package. It lasted for 3 months or so. They messaged me back maybe a few weeks ago saying that the search is done, that they couldn't find it, and that's it. It's closed. So in that respect, you have to be aware that that can happen. The next one that I would say is, as soon as you take a photo, you cannot see it. So if you nail the photo, if you nail the exposure, if you have the focus exactly where it needs to be, you don't know. You either take another one or you risk it. And if it's a once in a lifetime moment, you better be sure that you took it. Again, I don't want to make anybody afraid of this, but yeah, this is something that can happen. And if you should film, you need to be aware that this is a risk, right? It might not be huge, it might not happen all the time, but sometimes it can. But other times, an out of focus photo might look actually really good. So you don't know, you might hit the jackpot by making a mistake. Next one, um I have the underexposing. Man, this one is painful for me. This one happened to me. Let's see, it was the last track event last year, if I'm not mistaken. So let me tell you the story. I was shooting. I took Kodak, the Portra 400, and I took Kodak Gold to the track, and I was gonna shoot the last event of the track. I shot the Portra. Everything was fine. I was metering for the Portra. I use the light meter app on my phone, and yeah, this one right here. But but I didn't change the ISO on on the app, so I left it at 400, and I kept shooting. I was metering, shooting. I was metering the goal 200 as 400. The result was underexposed photos, and On digital, you might be able to save it, but on film is a little different because in film, if you underexpose, you have the black piece of film, which let's pretend, yeah, let's pretend is this. So you have the black film, and if you expose the film, you basically engrave on the film the photo, so the light basically engraves on the film. And if you underexpose, then that piece of the film stays black, so there's nothing on the film. And this happened quite a bit on my photos for that day. And I've left the gallery on 3lanes.com, on the blog post with the same name as this podcast episode. But you can go see, and it's very contrasty. The gallery, like, there's a high contrast. There's the blacks are really really black, and the shadows are really dark. It's not the best. Um, it pains me every time because I thought I had really good photos. I was able to save a little bit through Lightroom. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I mean, it's still usable, but it's not as good as it should have been. So, and if you are a perfectionist, then this is gonna it's gonna haunt you. Um, the next point would be that metering for the film that you're shooting. So overexposure, fine. Underexposure, not great. So that's another con. Let's see. The previous one, go back, is the not being able to see your images right away. I just wanted to be clear. Next is setting the ISO. So if you don't set the ISO, if you have a camera that has a light meter added to it, like the AE1 program, you can find a podcast episode about the AE1 program here on 3 Lanes. So look for that. Go listen to it after this. But with that camera, you can actually use the light meter that's on the viewfinder. But if you don't set the ISO correctly, it might give you the wrong readings, and you might be shooting the way you're not supposed to. So the same thing might happen, under or overexposing the film, which you might regret later. Uh, yeah. By the way, nowadays I shoot trying to overexpose a little bit, maybe one, uh, maybe either one up on the aperture, or try to reduce the shutter speed, just so the film can be one stop overexposed, and that usually gives me better results on film. I don't know. Try it, might work for you. The last one I want to touch on is mechanical failures. Uh, Last 3 weeks or so, I have had the mirror stuck at the top of part of the of the camera. After the last shot, it gets stuck. So when I'm trying to shoot the next shot, I don't see anything because the mirror is up, so I can really see through the viewfinder or the lens. And if you press the shutter to get it unstuck, which it has, that's the way it's been getting unstuck for me at least, you lose a shot because then you have to advance it, unless the camera has the ability to do multiple exposures on the same frame. In that case, you can save the shot, but in my case, I had to advance the film, and that was a shot wasted. Another mechanical failures, and these have been more user related. So I would like to say that maybe 80% of the mechanical failures have been my fault. meaning, and like I mentioned last time on the last episode, the what happened was I either don't put the film properly on the sprocket, and then when I go to advance it, I don't know, maybe I get too hasty and I don't take my time. But when I try to advance it, then it unlatches, and then the film doesn't advance. I lose all my shots. I don't take anything. Basically, I have a new film, right? If you want to think about the positive, but the shots are not there. So a lot of times I have lost a full roll of photos because of my mistakes. That's something that you need to be really, really careful with. I mentioned that it happened to me on a medium format mainly because I had not used that film stock before, and I ripped the tab off. It was a Lomo 400, I think, and on the 35 millimeters, it's that I don't latch the sprocket properly. So those have been my mistakes. Um, Otherwise, yes, those are the mechanical issues I have. I don't have anything negative to say. And yes, shooting film can be expensive. Shooting film can be time consuming. And shooting film is definitely a more manual process. And it it makes room for more mistakes and human mistakes, manual error, human error, however you want to call it. But why do I keep shooting film? Because I love it. I like it. It gives me a different perspective. It gives me a different point of view. It makes me take my time with the composition, the framing, everything. I just have to think differently. When I shoot black and white, I have to think in black and white. And I think it's just it's really, really helpful when it comes to learning how to use a camera, because it makes you learn the exposure triangle way, way better. And when you think a photo, you have to bring it to life, either in digital or film. But in this case, the tool is different, so you have to approach photography in a somehow different way. And the example that I gave on the blog post is like it's kind of like playing soccer on the street with the rocks as a goal. Uh, yeah, it's the same game, but the approach is completely different. It's I don't know if you ever done it, but the goals have to be smaller. There's no goalie most of the times. You have to play on the ground. You cannot be giving long passes. So it's the same game. The same game is the same thing with photography. It's the same thing, but the approach is different. And I think you're not better or worse if you do more of one or the other. It's complementary. I think it's film and digital can help each other, can help you to become a better photographer. We have to understand that we all make mistakes, we all mess up, and whatever you choose to shoot, you're gonna make mistakes either on digital or on film. It's fine. Just make mistakes, create those photos. A good camera is not gonna make you a better photographer. It's the practice. And that's with everything. The more you practice, the better you get. And that's simply what it is. There's nothing to it. Um, just go out, shoot, have fun, enjoy taking photos. I am Danny Lanes. This has been the 3 Lanes podcast. Thank you for stopping by. I'll see you next time. Bye.